anything like we used to. So I think we're in a pretty good spot, but it is up 80% from this time last month in New Hampshire. We were really low in March. That was a great time in early March, and now we're back where it's being circulated again. So that's all I have, unless you have questions. I think our process is working. We're still trying to distance as much as we can, and we have no cases. So that's an indication, evidence of doing something right, and we'll take it.
Great. Any questions for Wayne? And just a reminder now that we have the Zoom up to just turn your microphones on.
Oh, press the button on that one and it'll be green light.
There we go. All right, cool. Thank you, Wayne.
Yep.
All right, acceptance of the audit report. I think Jody, are you the person we look to?
Yes, we received our audit findings from our auditor, Vajan Bouquet, and there were no concerns on their part. Additionally, we received notification from the state today that they accepted our audit findings and that the NHDOE has not identified any issues of concern relative to the district's management or expenditure of NHDOE related federal grant funds for FY21. So we can be done.
Thank you. Thank you for everybody for your work on that. Anybody have any questions for Jody about the audit report? Yeah, thank you. All right, the MOU for the shared HR position. So Sean and Ann.
Yep. So what you have in front of you in your packet is you have we had gotten an MOU proposal from the town. So we have both the one from the town and the one from Matt Upton. When we got the one from the town, Ann and I talked about it, and there were several things that we weren't real comfortable with, that we had sent a note to Matt Upton to see what he thought about it. And the biggest thing was the one from the town, it seemed very rigid as far as when this HR person would be there, when this HR person would be here. And while we do want to make sure that the MOU reflects the 80-20 split roughly, Ann and I both agreed that for this to really work, there needs to be a lot of flexibility, to say that this person is going to be definitely at the town on this one day and here these other days. What if there's an emergency somewhere else? You know what I mean? And that person has to have flexibility to move from one place to the other. So basically, Matt Upton took that and put in this handy dandy little, unless otherwise agreed, which really solved a lot of our concerns. He put that in a couple of different spots. So that kind of took care of a lot of my concerns. And Ann, did that cover your stuff too, for the most part?
And I did find one spelling error on number 8. It says, shall be compelled by root of the town or this district, it should say, not of the district.
Oh, yeah, or district. Town
And
or
Steve's
district.
incorrect, but I mean, I'll fix that.
Okay. All right.
Another one on the second paragraph should be enabled, I think, in the second line, powers by enabling them to cooperate.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Enabling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the address is 19 School Street. I don't think that's correct.
No, 49.
Yeah, we can fix that stuff. But I was really kind of focusing on this person needs to be here on this day and this day only. And I was like,
And the other thing that I was concerned about was the job description that was proposed by the town administrator.
yeah. And I think we covered that.
We covered that. That's why we wanted the joint one that has already been approved by, but their agreement had that job description. So that's
right. And I think we took out, so I think Exhibit A, as it's stated in paragraph number 1, will be the joint job description.
correct.
And then what we did was we removed any other, we removed any reference to that other job description, the new one.
Yeah.
And that was when we had discussed last month that we were getting, kind of mixed signals from the town, and you guys authorized me to write a letter to the select
Mhm.
board. So this was that other job description that's in here is the one that was the concern.
Mhm.
And selectmen basically agreed, yeah, we're not doing that one, we're just doing the one we all agreed on,
Okay, cool.
you know, so that we can ignore. But Matt Upton's reworking of this, I think gives us the flexibility that we need. I think it's a lot better. I think it should serve both parties better. The only other concern that I had that was still in here was in number 5, paragraph 5. Yeah, I think it's paragraph 5.
No, it was,
Which one? The 1 year?
yeah,
The term of it, the position?
Yeah.
That's some number 5 over.
Number 5, yeah, I expect, so it's like 1 year. Yeah, so if they're talking like a 1 year contract, like doing a 1 year contract at a time, I guess that's fine. My concern with just, stating like 1 year, the first year is gonna be really bumpy. And I would hate to see either the town or the school district be like, oh my God, this isn't working that first year, because the first year is gonna be rough. So if we're talking like a 1 year contract, that's fine, maybe specify that. But if they're talking like, this, they almost kind of make it sound like a trial period, I think it should be longer, if that's the case.
So you're saying a 1 year contract for the person, but
Correct.
not the way you're
Not
thinking,
the
this is a
position.
position,
Right,
is okay.
right. I
yeah.
would want to be for the person, not the position. Because like, again, that first year, we're gonna be feeling a lot of things out as far as what works. I mean, I expect that when we have less staff during the summertime, the town has more staff, maybe they're there, at the town more than 20%, who knows, you know what I mean? But that stuff all needs to be worked out. The only way to work it out is to do it and see what works and what doesn't. And again, if it's like a 1 year contract for the person and they renew annually, that's great. So, Ann, what do you think about that?
yeah, I was thinking that, the agreement should remain in effect for at least 2 to 5 years.
Okay.
That was my personal thinking, because I think it's gonna take at least 2 years to work out all the kinks. 'Cause it's
Exactly.
a brand new position for both the town and the school.
Right. So, I don't know, what do you guys think about making that just longer? Because-
But then adding something that the individual position,
No,
individual's
we
contract.
control the position. So this is just the MOU between the town and the school. We
So-
want this MOU
Maybe this
to be
should
longer
say
than 1
Termination of
year.
the-
Right, so
Employment
because if we're
or-
controlling the position, they would be
This would be
redoing a
the
contract
agreement,
every year anyway.
Correct.
So we want the MOU to be in effect longer. And there is an escape clause anyway, so.
Well, yeah, you should have like April was just pointing out, the termination of the agreement is on
Correct. Number
6, so that's
Yep.
on 30 days, okay. Yeah, maybe see what Matt could just make it really clear, so the person we hire, if for whatever reason it's not working out with that person, they don't, we're like, well, I'm in it for 5 years, it says it here. Do you know what I
No,
mean?
They
Like,
they will only receive a 1 year contract.
but just because
Right.
they receive it, if they could come back to this and be like, well, look, it says 5 years, you know what I mean? They can, there's always
So maybe we can get more clarification from that up.
like just clearer language
Yeah.
to make sure.
Yeah,
I'm not saying they would be right, but, and you never know, if it goes to arbitration or something, they could side with the person.
well, sometimes one word makes a difference.
Yeah, exactly.
So any questions on that?
Nope, other than just checking with that with Matt and see if he can,
How do we, because we need to move forward with, put it all together. How should we go about that?
I don't know, maybe if there's changes,
Well,
we
I
can't
think
really
If
know.
we read it, date and duration term of this agreement.
Yep,
This agreement shall take effect upon the hiring of the human resources director.
okay,
Unless otherwise agreed to, this agreement shall remain in effect until the end of the fiscal year following the 1 year anniversary of the hiring of the resource director.
so it keeps saying this agreement, so it is
This agreement,
specified.
so I think that really specifies it. I think it should be, following like I said, 2 to 5 years.
Okay,
Because
Yes,
it's this agreement. It's nothing to do with the,
yeah.
right, okay.
So if you want to, even if you want to change that to 2 to 5 years, we can't vote on it tonight, because that would change. Do you know, see what I'm saying? And I agree with Ann, when we talk it through that, you don't have to worry as much about the person. thinking it's them, but if this changes from 1 year anniversary and you want to change it to 2 to 5, then
Well, that should be all right because the person's not even gonna start until like, what, June anyway, right?
Well, they're supposed to start May 1st, but.
Yeah, we haven't had
any
anybody.
applications, so.
yeah,
right.
so then
So,
it would
yeah,
be
so
an
we-
agreement until the end of the next school year.
Right, so we can make sure that the wording is right with Matt Upton and, because the selectmen meet every week, so they're easier to get this to than we are.
Mhm.
So if we make that correction, bring it back to our, what month is it, April? Our May
Mhm.
meeting,
What, the 2 to 5 year correction, you
Yeah.
mean?
does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I
Okay.
just, if it makes sense for you guys, your
Yeah, we
timetable, I'm
can
just
make
saying
it-
we
we can
can't
make it
vote on
work.
it, we can't vote on it tonight if something
Yeah.
can change.
Yep.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Everybody's fine with the 2 to 5 years? Yeah, I think that makes sense.
The other thing with with this position is we only got one applicant and the applicant wasn't really qualified for school stuff. So we're re-advertising it. And Richard had done some research with a hiring person that he knows. And the hiring person's advice was that we change the title of the position from the HR director to HR manager. The reasoning being, and Ann, correct me if I'm getting this screwed up, the reason being, someone who's looking at an HR director position would be expecting to have like a staff underneath them. And then we'll look at that pay rate and be like, that's not a director's pay. Whereas if they look at a manager position, that's more accurate to what they'd be, an HR manager would be looking for pay and everything else. Did I get that right? Okay. So the selectmen did make a motion to approve the change of the actual title, so we should probably do the same.
Okay, what do you guys, any discussion on that? I agree with that. So we just need a motion to change it from HR director to HR manager.
And I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Okay, great, thanks. All right, so make that one change with the years, the amount, and then
Yep.
can bring it back
And then we'll
next
bring it back
week,
and we'll
or
put it back
next
on-
month.
We'll put it back on
Next
the
week.
agenda. Put it back
No,
on the agenda
next
for
week
May.
is break.
So yeah, Maria, if you could put this back on the agenda for next month. Thank you. All right, next up, we have the SAU Employee Manual. I had a request from Sean, which makes sense, to either move that down after the job description, the 2 job description updates, or move the job description updates above the manual.
I have already changed the job descriptions in the manual.
Is it changing the
these?
manual that we have? And but we haven't approved them yet.
I
Okay,
know, but I was being a little bit
okay, then we,
looking forward ahead.
all right, then we don't have to do that. All right, so let's just go to the manual. Discussion on that. I have a few things that some concerns, but.
Go ahead.
My main concern, and thank you all for all of your hard work, is just that. And I understand, usually like if you look at the job descriptions, there's strike throughs and then highlights. Strike throughs of what you're taking out and highlights of what you're adding, which I know was probably a pain to do in the current one because the formatting was so messed up. But I don't know what the time frame is. I mean, I would like if we would maybe think about putting it on for next month, just because to go through it with nothing to compare to. And then we got the list of edits, which was just like, the page and the sections, and not what was changed, which is fine. Got that Monday night. I got it Monday night. And then so I haven't had a chance. I was going to compare the 2 manuals and like the sections that were changed. And so we really know what was changed. So that's my thought. I would like to, just table it or move it till next month. But I mean,
So when Ann and I last met, she had mentioned the highlights and strike throughs. And while it doesn't seem like it would affect the formatting and stuff, Ann can tell you the current manual that we
Oh.
had was cut and pasted so many times, the formatting was a mess. So
yeah,
we discussed, Ann asked, should we do the highlighting and the strike throughs? And I suggested not, only because to fix the formatting, put the highlight strike throughs, then to go back and take them out with changes was going to be extremely cumbersome. So it was actually my suggestion to put this list together. There's not a whole lot of actual changes in there. There's like the new HR job description is a new addition. The history is updated. We put an index in, which we didn't have before. 90% of this is formatting. Some small changes were made, were discussed the personnel, one of the personnel committee meetings last year, like the end of last year, and then brought to the board. And then that job description was brought to the board and approved. So personally, I feel like a lot of the stuff that's in here has already been approved. It's just being compiled into where it belongs. I think there's some stuff we need to talk about, like the search committees for the different positions. I think we talked about modifying the search committees. But I personally don't see the need to put it off another month, but that's me.
Yeah.
So it's up to you guys, I guess.
Yeah, and just my other thing, can I have it on my phone? Can I take a look just at the list? Because I didn't print it.
Oh, yeah.
And just like things like, hold on. Like update employees covered by manual. I haven't had a chance to go in and see what ones. There was a few other things like updated hiring procedures. That's like a 3-page span. I did a quick look and there's at least one substantive thing that I wanted to look at closer. So just stuff like that, and that's fine. I totally get the strike through piece because I know the formatting is awful on that. I have a copy of it from a couple years ago. So, but I would just personally like to look at them side by side, just in these sections and see what it was that was changed. So before I would vote on it. But like I said, that's just me.
Sure.
So what do you guys, any comments on the manual?
I mean, it was a lot to look at with just a few days, so I wouldn't mind sitting with it for a little while. Because I'm a new kid again.
Yeah, I certainly didn't read through it like I do most of the stuff because of time, but I don't care about putting it off a month or to give us a little more time with it.
Yeah, so, I mean,
So we'll
so
make a
if you-
motion.
yeah, I mean, yeah, if somebody wants to make a motion or just, do we need a motion? I mean, or just.
It's an agenda item. It should probably be
Yeah.
a motion if we're gonna table it.
all right,
I'll
yeah,
make a
we're gonna
motion to table it till May.
Second,
Will you need another copy in there?
No,
I got
that's
this
a good
one.
point. Yeah, no, don't need to make another
No.
copy. I don't think so, right?
oh, the
No.
new one,
This
This
one
is
is
the
the
new
new one. I can email you out. I have, I've sent it over the years at various points. I'll email out the
Your
old one to
yes,
everybody.
I already have one.
Okay,
just email it to me, I don't think I have it anymore.
I don't think April has
I
one.
definitely don't have it.
So I'll email that out. And yeah, there are sections that are hard to read because of the formatting, but with that list, you can,
Right,
you
because
go
now
through
I've got.
zero
more
in on
to-
those, yeah.
More to kind of, because this, I mean, I didn't know where we were in the process either,
Mm.
so.
Oh,
Is this
sure.
the first draft, second draft, 16th draft? I don't know. So that's great. I have one other motion now. Appreciate it.
all right, so we had a motion and a second. Right?
Yeah.
Yes,
All right,
second.
and we were just discussing, all right, so there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of tabling till May, say aye. Aye. Opposed,
No.
motion passes. I was gonna abstain if it came, if
No,
if
no,
everyone
that's fine.
wanted to
No.
not table, I was gonna
If that's
abstain
what-
anyway, so I get it.
If that's what everyone wants to do, that's totally fine.
Yeah, because I just don't. think okay. Thank you. All right, ESER 3 funds. Wayne or Jody or
Yeah.
whoever.
So I apologize, didn't make the packet. As you know,
We know what you were doing.
we look at our ESSER grants and every 3 months we do a rewrite. And this rewrite is almost entirely, I think there's one item that would be reflected as of July 1. So if there are substantive issues that are of concern, we can certainly move this to May. I know there are some people waiting on these funds. So if we could do it today, that'd be great. And I'd like to, for the public record, if the minutes could state that the superintendent asked for public input on ESSER 3, as well as all our ESSER grants. We're always looking for public input. So as I go down, I'll just go, you can see the originator or the administrator who had requested these, and I'll just kind of give you the quick overview. And hopefully it's, nothing that will be a surprise. I know Gina will be surprised because she wasn't involved in this whole process. So the first one is savings of $978, and Debbie was able to find some network savings in the upgrade that we had approved. The next savings is 24,500, and that was taken off of our after-school tutoring line. And I'd like to say that was because we were more efficient, but in reality, finding after-school tutors was more difficult than we thought. The next 70,000 we take off of that request for the grant is from the job embedded PD, which we just had. I think our staff were exhausted during this COVID time, and they really were not maybe as eager to participate in creative PD. And I certainly don't blame them. I'm just glad that they were able to manage the pandemic and the instruction. The next is 36,712 to take off for the ELO stipends and related costs. And I think, Karen could certainly speak to more of that, but I think we didn't have as many ELO students because we didn't have as many businesses. It was very complicated this year. It's not as bad as last, but still there's some ramp up that we've not been able to manage. We're saving money on the grant accountant. So there's 4,000. And then the money that we would add to the next year's request, remember this grant runs through September 2024. The first is 158,000. That would basically move forward the two full-time substitutes. We have one in each building. We've had that all year. And it's given our principals a little breath. It's given our staff in emergencies. We've got subs who know the students, who know the building, who know the protocol, who know the safety. So there was a lot of interest in maintaining those two positions for one more year. That would be it. And then 33 for the sub increase. Remember, we moved our sub pay from 90 to 125 because we couldn't find subs. And we still have the COVID out there sort of thing. And we are moving more subs into the building, but it's still difficult. And with the additional grant funds, we were able to keep that at a cost. The step increase for the positions at the high school, and that same thing for the all of the step increases you can see just as we move the same people forward. Now, if they don't come back, then obviously we could do something different, but those are small amounts, 260, 300, 400. Then there's a 5,400 for Orton Gillingham training for our 2 case managers at the elementary school and 1 at the high school. It's a reading program that kind of gets diagnostic specific and helps to drill down in regards to what needs students have. So that's a new request. We didn't have that a year ago. There's additional money that's needed for course books for this coming year for the graduate program that we partner with Keene State College. The NHDI, now we have funds for next year. It's been very successful and Joe really wants to keep this. And we had a little spillover in that funds for this rest of this year because the program was much more popular than expected. And it's something that our elementary school principal really values. So we decided that summer school, if we could keep that, was a real way to catch up. Remember, that was one of the big components of this grant, catch up learning. So it would give us that opportunity to get that summer school program, and that includes the employees, and that's 24,000. The field trips that we were not sure we were able to do, but it seems that we are able to manage some, and that would be the money to pay for the field trips for next year. Then the 4,400 is a partition for, remember we started that behavioral support program for the primary grades, and we put a partition in to make that work. I think that's what we're talking about. And the fire alarm was moved. So we need to do that. And as part of that petition and catch up learning with social emotional learning was a big part. Then I think you received a letter from a parent who wants us to approve the Regional Career Center additional numbers. So we didn't anticipate the numbers, but because there was a time when we weren't going to the Career Center at all, So now we have these students that are kind of backed up because of COVID. And so we believe we can get this money out of that COVID grant to allow those kids to go. Then there's 16.5 for the summer school for the Hinsdale Middle High School, which we think we can populate now that kids are now ready to really focus better than they were a year ago. And we'll get a better turnout. Then the dental and some of those benefits. An HVAC system at the elementary school. You know, clean air has been a part of all three of these ESSER grants. And if we're able to not only clean air, but we can also, as an aside, capture some energy savings, and with the cost of oil, those savings are bigger by the day. So we feel that would be a good use of the grant funds. Then the 13,000 to funds to cover the commissioning of the HVAC, and that's an automation upgrade, which just means it creates efficiencies so that we're not heating the room when nobody's there, we're not cooling it in the winter. It's just a way to do that on our own. And we hope to get the grant funds. Remember, if you approve them, we still have to rewrite these, and DOE has to approve them. And they have a Fed overlooking their shoulders. So there's a lot there, but I think we can get this. And I think it's a good time to go after it. Then the 17.2 for the custodial sub, remember, not a custodial sub, I'm sorry, a COVID sub, which we needed to clean surfaces. And actually this new sub variant it's easier to catch on the surface than the old, Delta and the Alpha before that and the Omicron. So keeping our surfaces extra clean is still a priority. And so we can get this done next year and maintain that custodian. Grant manager, or excuse me, 12,000 for after-school transportation. Since we're continuing to provide after school, there's more interest than we expected. Transportation is more expensive than it had been, but if we can get this out of the grant fund, that would be great. We do not need as much for the grant manager wages that were taken out of the grant. And the reason, because we've already written most of these, and there's only a few variations on the theme now, and so it's just less work. And also we're covering it with some in-house. Pollock Patel has been very involved in these, and it seems like it's going to be a nice transition there. ELA books, which Anne believes, reading is certainly an issue, and we have test scores to prove it. And this is a way to help lift up that problem. And then the second step books are part of a behavioral support program. We used to have those, and it would be a way as a resource for some teachers that Joe thinks we could use. So you can see then the total change requests are 267. Remember, this grant was 1.9 million. So we'd still have 424,000 available to budget, and that would be coming up next year. We wouldn't be looking to do obviously anything now until the fall if we approve this. And of the expenses that we've articulated, we're finding that we just don't always spend, as you noted, everything we think we're going to spend. So there'll probably be money coming back, as there will be for the ESSER 2 grant. The ESSER 1 grant, which was the CARES Act, we're only 3,000 away from expending that. And it's, I think that since that was mostly PPE, and I don't see that as being something we'll see more of in the future. There are some hold until June. That's when we'll talk about the items that we might want to bring into the fall when we talk to the board. And we're hoping there's some infrastructure money that can handle some of this. But we know, like, the windows have been approved. If we want the ability to open windows and not have them, crash on your fingers or close automatically. We've got a couple other requests. So we hope to get that out of infrastructure money, and the state's been very carefully guarding what they might approve for that money, and we're waiting to get a little more. I know that every day I read something, cellular service, this or that's coming out of the state, and it's all good, but the schools will end up with some of that, and we've got some thoughts about how to use it. So ideally, the board would say, go ahead and go with these, and if you have questions. in which case we begin the rewrite process, which takes a couple months, and then see if the state approves them. And that way we'd be ready to go, so we can advertise for like the full-time subs, for example, and get prepared for NHDI next year, and some of the other things that we need to kind of line up earlier, we won't be able to do it.
Okay, any questions for Wayne?
Yes.
Okay.
So I feel like we've talked about a lot of these items before. Yes?
Yes, almost all of them. The only one I can see that we didn't talk about was the Horton Gillingham, 3 case managers.
Right, and the HVAC system, is that the new controllers?
Yeah, so we're looking at, and the facilities committee has approved all these facility requests. We've
Yep.
already run them through. the
Okay.
facilities.
And so the field trips at HES, because they were on the chopping block, but we kept them.
Mhm.
So is this in addition?
That's for this spring, Sean. We cut them in the 21-22 budget when we
Mhm.
didn't think there was gonna be any
Oh,
opportunities
yeah.
to go anywhere.
That's right.
And that's
Oh,
what they should
right,
open up a
gotcha,
little
gotcha,
bit.
okay,
So we
okay,
have it in for the
223.
Gotcha.
budget. and Usually they'll go in the spring of 23.
gotcha. So my brain's looking at 2 different budgets at the
Yeah,
same time.
yeah.
Okay, that helps a lot. Okay. I think that was my only, I think that actually answers the rest of my questions.
Okay. Any other questions for Wayne? Okay, so that we just need a motion
Motion to
to
approve.
approve
Yeah.
the list.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion?
I would like to go on record to thank Jody, because managing these grants, by the way, we'll get some additional revenue of about 150,000 this year for having to manage the grants, but it's a lot of extra work and we're not adding a lot of extra staff. And so I'm happy we've been able to maintain it and stay current, because every month there's an expectation. Not only do these have to be approved, but then every month there's a reporting period on every grant. And that has to be approved, and they're very careful. So we've been able to manage it, and I'm very proud that business office has been able to help us with that.
And I just realized after I called for a motion, we need public input.
Absolutely.
Yes, so before we vote, so Bill, do you have any input, since Wayne ran down the whole list? Do you have any input or anything? Okay. Anybody on Zoom? Donna, Teresa, I think.
No, I'm all set.
You were very loud there, Donna. She used her teacher voice.
Sorry.
Teresa?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, so if there's no more discussion, then all those in favor of approving the list, say aye.
I
Opposed, abstain? Okay, great, thank you. Thank you, Wayne, and everybody else involved. All right, next up, we have, oh, I got my stuff kind of out of order here. The job descriptions. No, I just got my packet out of order, yeah, but thank you. So next up, we have the job description for the network administrator. And the technical support specialist.
That was at the end of your.
Yeah, thank you. That's what happened. So, Justin or Deb, I guess, if you want to speak to these, or Wayne.
Well,
whomever.
I think this reflects current practice and technology changes every year, so I think it's just getting us up to date, but I don't know, Debbie, anything else? No, I think it's just be real and up to date in regards to what we do with technology.
We
Okay,
realized Justin's current job description hadn't been updated since before we had a technical support person.
oh, okay.
So
That's why you
we
see all
wanted to
the,
move some of
yeah.
the things to where those items move to when that position was. moved.
Is there any questions about those? All right, okay, so I just need a motion to accept the job description for the network administrator.
make the motion.
Second.
One of you.
Fight for it.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? All right, and then a motion to update the job description for the technical support specialist.
I'll make the motion.
Second. All right, any further discussion on that one? right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? Okay, thank you. Next up, meeting format. I don't remember who requested this. It was Sean or Ann or requested this. Was it you?
Well, we were having the conversation, so we said throw it on. Throw it on the agenda.
Okay, I just couldn't remember. It was like yeah, I couldn't remember where it came from. So who wants to speak to this?
I mean, basically, the conversation is, do we continue using Zoom or do we not continue using Zoom?
Yeah, I just need to get an intro here.
Okay,
yeah.
so the conversation is, do we continue to use Zoom for our meetings or do we not?
So, all right, so discussion on that. I know Ann, I think had mentioned that they're gonna start charging. What is the price for that? Do you know? I mean,
I do not know. It's going to be expensive though, because they're going to charge by anything over an hour.
so I think we need to have that, in my opinion.
Debbie, do
what the
you look
amount
into
is,
it?
yeah.
We don't use Zoom,
Oh, that's right.
We use Teams.
we use Teams, because it's free. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's, so we don't know anything about
It
Zoom.
won't, they've said it's gonna be like $200 a month is what the last thing that I saw.
Okay.
But as you can
Mhm.
tell, the Zoom participation has really dropped off.
Yeah, I went through and looked on each meeting just to get the data and you can, I don't, it just shows views. So I know I usually would go in and sometimes we'll pick out things that I don't remember and, and I know Sean has done that. So maybe, a handful might be that kind of thing. But the average, I added it all up into an average of, for 2020 was 60 people per meeting. 2021, the average was 42. And so far in 2022, the average was 41. We did have a lot of views on that one meeting. So for what it's worth, I did the math.
In my opinion, I'd like us to continue to use it, or if not Zoom, another format of some kind, to be able to let people join in our meetings virtually, only because I think our meetings are at 6 o'clock, full-time working parents getting home from work, making dinner, whatever. If they want to be able to participate in our meetings, that's the easiest way for them to do it. Being open and transparent is always good. My experience with, PTA, mind you, was excluding people was never good for us. So the more we can include people, I think is a better way to go about it. If we want parent to participate in school and participate, into the process, then we need to give them avenues that might work for them to do that.
Gina, Sean?
I don't have a problem with Zoom. I think it's a good way to get more participation, but I'm just not sure how much more participation we're getting than we normally do, or we historically have.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Gina. I mean, we get people here when there's a hot topic and
Just like Zoom.
that's when we get it there. So, I think that it served a really good purpose during COVID. I think it was the safe and responsible thing to do, to include, especially with all the stuff that was going on through the openings and all of that. I think it was great. I just don't know if we need it now.
I don't know. I'd like to see how, research it and see how much it'll cost. And like, obviously, some people are going and watching it later because they can't make it.
Right.
So I will say I was on the group of people who were looking at and evaluating the board of the year, with NHSBA school board of the year finalists. And I think there are like 4 finalists. And 3 of the 4 had community engagement, community outreach, that kind of a thing, where
Maybe we
big
can put it out on
factors.
community connections.
Oh, do it like a poll, you mean?
Survey or something.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, do a poll, like, yeah.
that was my thought too.
Yeah, and so that was my other thing with reading that, how one of the, like, they all had that kind of common thread with, there, but.
Mhm.
All right, so yeah, so how about we do that? We will look into what it costs. Community Connections will put out a poll and we'll put it back on the agenda for next month with all that other information, data and talk about it. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
we have to see, I need to know what the cost is too.
Yeah.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
I would like to know what the cost would be.
Yeah,
And I discontinued my account. I don't do it. Like, I was doing it for the town, for Parks and Rec, as well as Planning Board. And so I don't know what the cost is either. I discontinued it a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, next up is advertisement for moderator. So Anne, is that you?
Yeah, I just would like, I think we should need to advertise for a moderator, because we do not have one at this time. I have someone who may be interested in it, but I think we have to advertise for the position. And it would only be, you know, for next year, and then they go on the ballot, and then it'd be a 2-year position.
Oh, and they get back on the regular
And
cycle.
then they get back on their day.
Kind of like with me with the school board.
So it's like an
Correct.
appointment. I was gonna ask, I
Yeah.
thought it was an elected position. So it's
It
like
is an
appointment.
elected position, but you can appoint if no one. There
Yeah,
was two people who received more than 5 votes. Anyone who receives less than 5 votes is not considered
Viable.
viable.
yeah, whatever.
And the 2 people who both received the higher votes turned the position down. So we have no moderator.
Yeah, so it would be the same process. We put it out there and then get the names and the board would
Yeah.
appoint.
Okay.
All right, do you need a motion for that?
No,
No.
I mean, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay. But we're all good with it, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, great, thank you, Ann. All right, the MOU with the Hinsdale Education Foundation. And or April, I know I missed the last meeting, so we're halfway to discuss it. So if you two wanna,
I'll let Ann talk.
Well, because of change in personnel of the SAU office in the next few years, we needed to set up something so HEP would be able to use the space available. And Wayne came up with this MOU, and Jody and I talked about it. And, you know, I think this will work for everyone. As long, you know, we can use the conference room as long as reasonable notice is given. We'll work with Maria to set up the time. A janitor will let us in, and then we'll close the door and let ourselves out. And we will have a small area that we still have in the hallway for supplies. It's mostly just the golf tournament stuff. And I personally cannot bring it home because it will cause problems.
all right, discussion, any questions?
So I know we give space to like the PTA and stuff. Does it have to be the SAU or can it be one of the school buildings? Because because it seems like the SAU is, I think, a little bit more secure. And we have other groups that use like PTA uses the elementary school and PTSA uses the middle high school, right?
Yeah.
So can it be one of the buildings?
The main reason for this room is we have some board members who health is fragile or have members of their family whose health is fragile. So we do this. And what you have to understand too is this building is on this side of the building is on a different key system than the other side of the building. So it'd only be access to this room here. And the janitors would let us in and out. It's not like anybody would have a key to anything.
How about restrooms? Would you need access to restrooms?
No, because our meetings only last a half hour, 45 minutes at the most.
If, like Sean's asked about using another building, if you were to use the high school, you could Zoom or Teams or with Zoom in the library?
No, the library does not have a very good connection. You can ask, I mean, we've tried to have our meetings out there and it just doesn't work very well. I mean, a classroom would be okay, but then you'd have to, yeah, I don't know.
Because I've been in joint loss, I think we Zoomed some people into the library a couple of times. Like
Joint loss is
before.
usually in here.
No, I know recently, but last year there was a few times because I came and I sat in the library like twice and we Zoomed some people in from across the street. And
We do our monthly ACERT meetings in the library, and it works well with the people from Impact Management, and they zone in,
We've recently done parent concern meetings in there as well.
and they zone in.
yeah,
Things have been upgraded since we had the board meetings.
yeah.
Well, I think we didn't have microphones then either, so
Oh, yeah.
nobody could hear us.
Yeah, the dark-
We had one in the middle of the
microphone in
room.
the room, that's right. Seems so long ago.
No, we have even talked about like getting the board meet back in there, because that's how confident we feel about the room.
Yeah, it was that when I was first on the board, obviously it's no Zoom, but that's
Yeah.
where we met. It was,
I
yeah,
forgot about that.
yeah, right.
It's a
Oh, yeah,
long-
you were too, Gina.
It's a long time. ago.
We should like move around and do the elementary school once in a while
Oh,
too.
God.
Like, no, really.
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Nobody would know where to show
I
up
think-
for the meeting.
Posted. It's posted.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So what do you think?
So what I'm hearing is, because I'm on the half part of it, is that the concern is that it's SAU building for security reasons, basically, right?
Mhm.
And that the library would be a better choice for this comfort and security. I
Yeah,
mean,
what can
if
we
the
say?
library is gonna, personally, I mean, I don't know how Ann feels about it, but if the library is gonna accommodate that, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think if it accommodates it, and then that gets rid of that concern.
Could you try it
I'm,
and see if it works? And if it doesn't work for some reason, then come back?
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't work, but yeah. And I don't, it's just to, the agreement should be revisited every 10 years, just kind of stuck out at me, not that I'm against it, but 10 seems like, oh, what's, I don't know, what do we have with the PTA? Is it just open-ended?
It's just open-ended,
Open-ended,
yeah.
oh,
I
okay.
don't-
No memorandum of understanding.
No,
Oh, okay, yeah, so
we
then.
just asked Joe and he says, yeah.
Because you do so much for them, so. No, I just, yeah, and I'm fine with it, it just, jumped out at 10. Yeah, and
It's up to
then.
you guys. I'm
So
just-
5 years?
No, I mean, I'm fine with 10. I'm not suggesting we change it. Like I said, it just kind of jumped out and I was wondering about the PTA. Then there's the copier part. So the copier, if we meet in the
Does
the
the library have a
library
copier?
has, does the library have a copy? No.
No.
So the
That
copy,
would just be something that I would come down.
like one off, you need this battery.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
cool.
that wouldn't be anything, that would be like we're running off things for the golf tournament.
Oh, okay,
That,
like during business hours type deal.
correct.
All right. All right, so what do you guys think?
So it just changed from SAU to library?
Well, I
basically?
think, I
I
would
think
just
we-
say change to school building.
School building.
So, but don't denote which one, like,
Right.
yeah, one of the school buildings or something. Okay. So just for the sake of argument, since we're gonna, it sounds like we want to be more general about it, at the elementary school, where would they meet at the elementary school? If we don't specifically say the middle high school library.
Probably have to use a classroom. if
Oh,
you
okay.
wanted to
Oh,
have-
that's true, everybody has
if you
smart
wanna
boards,
have
yeah.
access to a smart board, there's
That's
no
true.
longer- it's not a smart board in the library.
Okay, the use of, so you will have like available classroom or library in either building or something like that. Does that make sense? Like somehow? Yeah, that's gonna work it out. Classroom, library, okay. All right, so any further discussion on that? All right, so we just need a motion to approve it as amended. So take out the SAU conference room and put in, available classroom / library at HMHS or HES.
I'll make that motion. Oh, that right?
Yeah,
Yeah, time and a
sure.
half, sorry, you're
I
right.
mean, we can vote probably for it, but we'd have to.
Right.
Yeah. So when you
That's
guys
true.
want to make the motion in a second?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the MOU as amended, say aye.
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 Opposed, Abstain? Okay. All right, next up, policy update. So final readings of policy IK, IKF, IMBC, and JLCJA.
I will make a motion to approve those technical policy as a final reading.
Can we separate IKF?
Okay, sure. So a motion then for IK, IMBC, JL, JCA.
I will
Anything
make
with
that amended motion.
Do you want to second it?
Second.
Okay. All right, so discussion on those three. Discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor of approving those as a final reading, say aye.
I
Opposed or abstain? Okay, then we just need a motion to approve IKF.
will make that motion.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
I just have objections to it. I know that we need to have it for funding, but I just don't think it's right. Sorry, to base taking a test on whether or not you graduate,
A civics.
a civics test.
Oh, yeah,
whether or not
actually,
you can
yeah,
Graduate.
to catch Gina up.
Oh,
Did you wanna
sorry,
give her-
Gina.
That's okay, yeah, give her a
So-
brief.
So IKF is the civics requirement for to be able to graduate.
Mhm.
And what they've added into it is that you need to take the United States government competency
Mhm.
test, US citizenship basically test, in order to graduate. You need to pass this test in order to graduate. To enable your graduate. I can see passing the class in order to graduate. I can see, and having the test being part of the class as part of your grade. But I don't agree with having to take a test in order to graduate. They're basically saying you have to take this US citizenship test. If you fail, you don't get credit for your civics. You don't get to graduate.
It's an RSA.
Yeah, it's an RSA. So we're being mandated to do it, and I understand that part, but I can't agree to it. So that's why I've separated it out.
I just have a question now, we talk about it that, so, yeah, it's RSA, we have to do that, but so this is new this year.
It's
going
affecting the
to be-
2024 class.
So, yeah. So who is, and I should read it again. So forgive me if I'm asking a question I should know the answer to, but who's gonna come up with the mechanism of, like, how is this all getting the schedule for taking the test? You know what I mean? Like,
So I don't think those rules and regulations have been developed.
oh, okay.
But there's like 124 questions. They've done a lot of that kind of delineation of what's going to be on the test, but as far as the exact question, when it will be administered, and if there's any way to provide accommodations for students, let's say special needs
Oh,
students,
that's a good point.
that hasn't been talked about yet. So there's going to be quite a few little ramifications that will wrinkles. But this is the expectation, and it's unfortunately, we don't have any choice relative to a diploma.
So it's already an RSA, so the lawmakers have already, so who's in charge of like figuring all this out?
The
The
DOE
DOE, right?
ultimately will-
Oh, and they don't really take letters from people like lawmakers
state-
do they? I was gonna say, who can we write to and make sure this
The
is on
State
people's
Board of
minds?
Ed will take letters.
Oh, the State Board of Ed, okay.
But I'm not sure. I mean, to be honest, the place I think is when you have your annual board meeting and you do the resolutions, someone,
Oh,
if not you, someone will have
Yes.
a resolution saying they don't know, this is not local control. This is not
Oh,
what
yes,
we're
okay.
about, and we object. That doesn't mean it'll get there, but then at least the
Yeah.
legislators
We'll
all
know
read
that we-
those resolutions.
yeah,
And many know you represent a lot of people,
yeah.
4,000 Hinsdale.
All right,
folks.
cool. Yeah, so that's in October. So April and I work on something to bring to the board to put forth as a resolution.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a good idea. I can't believe I didn't think of that one. That should have been on my
It's
radar.
your department.
I know, right? But thank you. All right, cool. Okay. So, any further discussion?
So what are our options if, let's say a quorum agrees with April and doesn't agree to it?
When?
Well, we could secede, but that's a complicated process. There were 13
So-
reps that tried to do it.
Lose funding.
We wouldn't be able to offer a a diploma that would meet the expectations of the state.
We
And that
also
could get us in some fines and issues related to our DOE and certification as a district.
So essentially we're forced to vote
Right.
yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
also it will affect our students' federal student aid application if we don't have that on.
Right.
If we go to HC.
I don't want to throw this out in public, but given that I'm not here forever, I don't believe charter schools and some of the other schools that are receiving money have the same regulation, but I checked that out before the
Check that,
resolution.
yeah.
Makes me
Yeah, I don't think
matter.
they do.
No, yeah, that's a good point. I'll check that out with the. Okay. All right, any further discussion? All right, so all those in favor of accepting policy IKF as a final reading, say aye.
I under duress.
Yes, aye.
I'll be our no.
Okay.
If
Thank
that's
you.
okay.
And Gino is an aye.
That was an aye.
Okay. All right, thank you. And thank you, April,
You're welcome.
for raising that. All right, other business. Does anybody have any other business?
I have a couple of things.
Okay.
See if anyone else has that.
And Sean, you okay with Sean going? Go ahead.
Go for
All
it.
right. So I have some concerns with our next budget, not the one that we have right now, the one that's going to be after that. Well, not the one we're working on, or the one we just got approved, the one after that. So I'm thinking 3 budgets.
What year are we talking about?
The 24, 25.
That one.
Okay.
No,
23, 24.
Right.
Right, 23, 24.
Yes.
We're in 23,
No, that, yes, that's
24.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
23, 24.
Yeah,
All right. You know, what we've seen typically, and not always, but more often than not, is when we have a budget when we're close to flat or, you know, just a small increase, is that within another budget or two, you know, we have a bigger increase. That's just a
Mhm.
cycle that it's black and white. So I have a concern with, you know, we did cuts and that's all well and swell, but I feel like we are setting ourselves up for a budget that is going to be a bigger increase than we're probably going to be comfortable with. And I could be wrong, but I don't think that I am. And while I don't tend to like to compare us with other school districts, because I think that we are unique and have a lot of unique qualities, I do want to just throw out there that the Hampstead School District had a similar conversation to this last year. And what they did, they completely deconstructed their budget, started with 0, put stuff back in. There were really no carryover, like automatic carryovers. Everything was questioned. Everything was viewed. Even things that you wouldn't think would be reviewed. And they ended up with a 2% decrease in their budget just out of, you know, finding more efficiencies, which I think that we're really good at, but I think that there's other stuff we might be able to find. I don't have all the details on it. I don't know all the details on it, but I do know that their superintendent would be more than happy to speak with our superintendent and discuss the process, discuss all the ins and outs of it. And I would greatly appreciate it if this board would encourage our superintendent to reach out. I can give him that contact information to see what that's all about. And then maybe budget and finance, you know, can get on that along with anyone else that needs to and look for some different efficiencies for that next budget.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, in finance, Wayne could, you know, once he understands and has some resources on that process. So, and I will say, as a side note, through my work at the School Board Association, know about Hampstead. Like you said, that they had a 2% or whatever it was decrease.
Mhm.
That was also while they were withdrawing from Timberlane, wherever it was, and they became their own SAU and still had a budget decrease, which is the when we became our own SAU, you know, we know how that goes.
They had a
And it was
lot. They
amazing.
had a lot
that
going
they
on.
did, yeah.
They did a lot of, you know how we did a lot of public outreach when we did our building project? Well,
Mhm.
they did something
the
similar
same
with
thing.
that. And they,
Yeah.
what's our voter turnout usually? Like
Our voter turnout was 14% last year.
14. So their voter turnout this time around was like 33% or
Mhm.
something like that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, like I said, but at the New Hampshire School Board Association, and there's been discussion about Hampstead.
Yeah.
They had a really great year, so.
And just for disclosure, my sister's on the board. That's why I've got
Yeah.
information on it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, very nice,
You know,
yes.
I tried to convince her not to run. You want to recognize our selectman rep? He has a question.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So is this just like a zero-based
Yeah.
budgeting?
I think that's what they call it too.
It's a zero-based budget.
Occasionally, you know,
Yeah.
every so often.
Yeah.
It usually results in reductions
Yep.
in a lot of areas.
I mean, even in just a.
Justify every expense essentially.
Yep,
You know,
and it-
whoever comes up with their figures for different departments.
Exactly, and there's no assumptions, like no automatic, oh, we've always done this, we just carry that over. There's no like
Lot more
automatic
work.
carryovers, right? And it is.
Yeah.
That's the
what
thing
they
is,
did.
it's a ton of work, you know, but I'll say just in a project that, you know, Ann and I are working off of Parks and Rec, I mean, even in just the Parks and Rec budget, you know, I found a couple things that, you know, after the fact, there's like, okay, that was carried over, but we don't do that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So there's things that, you know, we're so used to looking at
Mhm.
all the time, right? And this will be looking at those things differently and say, do we really need that? Or is this related to that expense? We don't need that expense, which means we don't need that. You know, there's all these different things. So when my sister was talking to me about it, I'm like, well, I'm going to bring that to my board and see what they think. And like I said, their superintendent is more than happy to speak with Wayne.
Yeah, and I thank you, Bill, because I could not remember, as he's talking, I'm racking my brain of what the phrase, what the
And I
term
wrote,
was.
and I wrote right
and it
on here,
was-
zero-based budget. So,
Okay,
so
yeah,
thank you.
because I've
So
read it
thank you.
in their stuff, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, of course, you have contractual obligations, have to
So,
ban.
so
Right.
here's the thing,
Yeah.
but even those, right, yes, we have contractual obligations, but, and this is kind of a segue to something else I was gonna discuss. We can really look at what our priorities are. I kind of feel like, some of our educational priorities, you know, we've had some positions, people retire or something, we have refilled.
Mhm.
We've had, other positions that we just haven't had applicants for, so we haven't filled those. We have, you know, some teachers, you know, working maybe, I think within the contract, maybe more outside of their content area, you know, maybe than in the past.
Yeah.
I think that some of our, just because we've been trying to work with these budgets and stuff, I think that our educational priorities, in my view, they're just maybe a little bit lopsided, right? So this is part of an opportunity to really look at all this stuff and say, does this all align with what we want to do for students, what we want to do in the buildings? You know, so I think there's multiple opportunities there, if it works out.
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard the phrase, you know, show me your budget and you show me your priorities.
Yeah.
So, get back to more of the educational priorities.
Yeah, I think that we
Cool.
need to.
So thoughts on that? Do we just let Wayne know that it's okay to talk to Hampstead's? Super, you okay with
And I
that?
can give you his contact
That'd be
information.
great.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
And you don't want to go on finance after you've suggested this whole big.
No, because-
I'm only joking. No, it's a
No,
joke. It's a
because-
joke. It's a joke.
No, but honestly, it's actually really good. It's maybe a joke, but that's a good question because we talked about like contractual stuff and stuff like that. And if we're looking at some of these things, it may involve, you know, discussing with the unions because we can't just do whatever
Oh,
we
yeah,
want to
so
do.
you'll be
right?
pulled in on
So I'll
personnel.
be part of personnel,
Okay,
you know, and
yeah.
you know, if we start getting some ideas, if we start looking at this, right, and say, this might impact, you know, something in a CBA or whatever, then the first thing that we need to do is call the unions.
Mm.
And we'll have a meeting with personnel and get together,
Yeah.
and we'll share the thoughts. And it should be all done together. It shouldn't be us saying that, sitting there saying, this is what we're gonna do, and you're gonna, no. It
Yeah.
needs to be a collaborative process.
Okay, cool. All right, and so Wayne can talk to Hampstead. Do you have any other questions for Sean on that? Great, thanks, Sean. I know you have more, but thank you for that.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was going to say thank you for that whole
That's
thing.
fine.
Sorry.
So
Now we're getting punchy early tonight. Anyway, go ahead.
making good progress though.
Oh, now you said it.
I just jinxed us. When we had the principal interviews, one of the things that we talked about with the candidates was, and I think, was it you, Holly? I think it was legislation about having a student rep
Oh,
on the school
right.
board, like an
Yeah,
actual.
Yeah, I think that was
actual
April's question,
person
but I
on.
ended up asking.
So I love that. And I, regardless of what any legislation has done, would really, really like to see that happen. I would really like to see a student rep, like a student member of the school board.
Yeah, we did that for, before you were on the board, and it was like, because I remember, because it was Melanie Smith and then Amanda, remember they would come and they'd stay for most of the meeting, even actually both of them. And then it became more of a, oh, whoever can show up, rotating kind of thing. And I get it because the kids don't want to, and they don't have time.
I get it, but so here's the thing. Obviously, I would love to see that happen. I would want to see some commitment about it.
Mhm.
And, we talked a little bit, one of the candidates was talking about, kind of like that, right? How do you make that happen?
Mhm.
If the students are interested in doing it too, I would like to see them do what we do and run for the office and have an election in the building.
I think you did that for like we had an at-large one, right? And you had like the somebody from NHS and somebody from, right, or something
We did, and we had
years
kids
ago.
who were committed at one time, but at this, since COVID,
Right.
a lot of the kids, they disappear right after school. They're either in
Yep.
sports, working, or they have younger children at home to take care of, so. I
Yeah,
mean, the commitment piece would be tough.
yeah, this was like, well, we had it, that more like that a while ago. It was Ed actually brought it, and he was on the board in like 2010, 11 and 12. So yeah, that was his.
Can we throw that out there to the students to see if there's any interest?
I mean, one of the things that
Probably in the
candidates were
fall,
saying was
right.
that the students
Probably
wanted to
fall,
have more of a voice,
Mhm.
and this would be a way for that to happen. So,
Right.
Yeah, it would have to be the
Yeah.
fall, because right now everyone wants to get out.
Yeah.
it would be
We
next
don't
year.
even want to-
Teachers, students, board members, we all want
Yeah,
to get out.
Yeah, so we'll revisit that in the fall.
All right.
Awesome.
That's all I had,
All
for
right,
public anyway.
yeah. April,
I
have
have
anything?
nothing.
Gina?
No, good.
The only one thing I have, and Jim wanted me to convey his sincere thanks for the card and, gift card and everything. And he didn't mention the flowers, but for everything that we gave him at the district meeting. So he wanted to convey his sincere thanks for that.
And we have a couple of thank you notes in here too.
We do. I think he realized he didn't get it in time. So that's why he asked me to do that.
Just
Yeah. All right.
Oh, Shine. So we got that letter that was on our tables here, and it looks like that was addressed with the ESSER funds that you were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Should we, or should Wayne reach back out to that parent?
I can
Oh,
certainly
yeah, let them
email
know.
and say thanks for the information, board appreciated it, and we approved the fund.
Well, and also, but I noticed when you said it, you had said, we'll see if it can be, right? So it's not 100% done deal until we
So
rewrite
say-
it and it
yeah,
happens,
and
right?
so-
Write it in.
Okay,
It can't happen until the DOE, till we rewrite it in the DOE.
and DOE approves it. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it,
Yeah.
I think that was likely, we'd already done some research and it looks like it's qualifies under the. So we would think it's likely, but it's not a done deal until DOE.
Okay,
approves it.
cool.
I
Yeah,
just- I
that's a
just-
good
I just
idea.
don't want to keep them hanging.
Yeah, just to let them know what happened and, okay, cool. Thank you. Good point, Sean.
Thanks.
All right, financial report. Jody?
Thank you. Before I begin, I just would like to circle back for a second to the audit report and just a point of order. Did you have to vote to accept that?
I was gonna ask that. but we have
Oh,
to-
thank you
yeah.
very much.
I'll make the motion to accept the auditor's report.
Second. Any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor of accepting it, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstain. Sorry about that. Thank you, Jody. Sorry.
Can you pass that down?
That's how we're making good time. We make those students up there.
We're skipping.
Um, So one thing I'd like to draw your attention to my financial report where I talked about the fact that Abbey Group, our food service provider, is replacing their software for keeping track of many things. It's going to keep track of, it's going to allow parents to apply for free and reduced lunches. So that's, it's a lot of different things that are going to go on with it. It's going to talk to Power School. So there's some good things. And this is going to be effective Monday, May 2nd. One of the things that's going to happen is the balances that folks owe are going to go over as a lump sum with no detail. So while I am working at getting printouts of the details, so we have something, I thought it might be a good time to address the the charges that we have on account. So currently, we have $2,741.54 that is owed for meals that children have received and not paid for. Now, what's important here is that there have been no charges to any student for meals since March 13th of 2020. So this is slightly over 2 years old. And I do want to commend the principals. I think they've been very diligent at trying to collect some of these funds. And you can see, if you go back to March of 2020, it was almost $5,000 was owed to us, and we chopped that not quite in half. And I just, at this point, I think our principal time is worth a lot more than trying to be bill collectors for 2-year-old debt that I just don't think we're going to be able to collect, to be honest with you. And so I didn't know whether to bring this up now or in non-public. If you are interested in any of the names, we can talk about that in non-public. There are some frequent flyers, but I think that this is, I really hate writing off money. It's just against my better judgment in life, but I think this might be the time to do it. We'll start fresh. Free lunch goes away on the last day of school this June. So in the fall, we're going to go back to charging for lunch. We're going to have to work really hard on getting the free and reduced applications up. So much is connected to that. A notice went out to parents today. Erica sent it out on School Messenger saying to look for an email from Abby Group, because the parents are going to have to sign up for an account. And it's coming from, I forgot who it's coming from. Remember, is it coming from Titan?
Titan.
Yeah, it might be coming from Titan. So, I mean, my feeling is that the parents aren't going to recognize that. And I think it could be easily thrown into spam or just deleted. But so we sent out something on School Messenger, letting folks to know that it's legit. It's coming from the Abby Group. And hopefully when they get the email tomorrow, parents can react to that and create accounts. So I guess I'm looking for some feedback from you on what you want to do with these balances. And I guess it's a larger discussion too. And Wayne?
So I would just kind of, when we think about this in the macro, we receive about 5,000 a year for every kid who takes free or reduced lunch. So then, 10 years is 50,000 a kid. If you look at, if we just gave everybody a free lunch, and we've done 3,000 to 4,000 over the course of their time they're here. So the real goal, as far if you're looking at revenue, is to make our lunch program so friendly, make the brand so positive that every kid who might have a parent who qualifies, sign for free or reduced lunch, and they can make 70,000, 80,000 and still qualify if they have a few children. So that, I think and I've been through this conversation a million times. I've never met a board who didn't have to write something up at the end of the year, no matter how much. So I just want that to be in mind when we move forward with, how deep we go at trying to recover every ounce of this debt.
Okay. And so I think the larger discussion down the road might, I don't know that we're going to solve this today, but how aggressive do we want to be going after folks with balances? I think we can bring it to their attention. There's a couple of things that we can do to make sure that we're looking at it fairly currently. But if you look at this list in the second page that I gave you, it points out of that $2,700, 325 of it is our kids who have been moved to free and reduced. And so historically, that's the kind of thing you write off anyway. We have $428 of students who've left the district.
Yeah, never gonna get.
We got nothing there. And then the biggest ones are big chunk is siblings with balances. So there's family groups that do this. So I don't know how aggressive. I guess I'm looking for some direction from the board. We don't want to ever deny a child lunch, and we never want to.
And we've said that as a board over and over again. Yep.
And we don't. We don't want to feed them something different in the line, like, oh, here's your bologna sandwich. It's not the child's fault. So I guess I'm looking for some direction down the road too on how aggressive we go.
Okay, comments or questions or what, in fact, feedback for Joey?
So I know in years past when, Tom has brought us the list, and you pointed out, it's been double this. So, it's been more than $2,700.
Well, sure,
So I think that we're doing really, really well.
but let me just point out,
Yeah.
December of 2019, we had that wonderful donation that wrote
Yep.
off the
Yep.
students' balances. And then
Yeah.
with just a couple of months, it popped up to $5,000. So it's gonna pop up real fast.
It's gonna pop up again, and I don't know what the long-term solution is, but for now, especially moving with the new system, you can be penny wise and pound foolish. How much money are we gonna spend chasing down $2,700?
I agree. And I personally think principal time is better devoted to things educational, not collections.
Right. I mean,
But
and like I said, we've had the conversations on $5,000, $6,000. What do we do with this
Okay.
money? You know what I mean? So for me, it's an easier conversation to have the $2,700, talk. Because I think that we will spend more money trying to get that
I
than
agree.
we will get. So.
Yep, agreed. Okay, so basically we're saying write it off. Is that, yeah,
That's what I would do.
whatever that.
I'm hoping so.
entails, Yeah.
Do you need to make a
That's what I
motion
just gonna
to-
say, do you need a motion for that or just?
Yeah,
by
I'd
consensus?
appreciate it.
Then I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion on that? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstain? Okay.
Great. And other than that, you have my reports. Are there any questions that I can answer at this time?
I have a question about the new system as a parent.
Yes, yes.
April wants a preview.
Well, so like he has money on his account now that'll transfer.
That
over to the
will,
new
that will
system.
cross over. We just aren't gonna have any detail.
Right, yeah, about what he spent it on previously.
Right,
Also go in
From
now,
May.
right?
Right,
and
yeah.
look if you
Right,
wanna
Right,
see.
yeah, if you wanna know.
right.
Like when we meet my kid at the door and be like, how can you order pizza 5 days in a row?
Right, yeah, well, I
Yeah.
was telling Holly a story, like, I looked at Chase's and he was like getting 3 drinks a day. I'm like, what are you getting 3 drinks for? So me and my friends, I'm like, no.
I had some of those.
Mr. Big Spender at
Right.
the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
So-
the,
Milk for
I think
everybody.
the new system is actually gonna be more user friendly for parents.
Yeah,
I know the current system, in order to find it, you have to log on and then you have to go to Vermont.
no.
So,
That's the lunchprepay.com.
yeah.
I mean, I never
I
had a
just have
problem
the
with it, but yeah.
K-12 payment,
Yeah.
prepay or something like that.
They're
That's what I
different.
use.
There is one difference in that it's, there's gonna be a fee from the Abbott Group and Titan of $2.60 per transaction.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of a big increase from what we have now, but
Like for me to
if-
put money on the account
for
transaction.
you to put money on the
it's like
account.
$1.50 now.
I was
or
gonna say
Right,
$1.
right, so it's gonna be
something.
$2.60, so if you're putting $20 on, that's kind of
Right.
a lot. But the difference is it's $2.60 per transaction, so if you have 5 kids and you're putting money on for 5
5
kids,
kids.
it's only one transaction of $2.60.
Oh, that's good,
So there's some.
that's good. I have some ideas about it for future, how we might be able to curb this, but I think it's better discussed. in non-public, maybe.
Okay.
non-public.
All right, cool. All right, yes, we voted. All right. Thank you, Jody.
Thank you.
All right, next up, curriculum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You have my report and you also have in front of you a invitation to our exhibition luncheon, our mentor recognition luncheon, not mentor dinner this year. What you don't have in front of you yet is your golden ticket for exhibition day, because I haven't completed the golden tickets yet, but you will have them at the next board meeting. So they're both on the same day, just so you're aware. Exhibition is in the morning and luncheon is at 11. Luncheon for us in the school district is always much earlier than luncheon for when business people have lunch, but it's just the way it works. So the business people will be attending, the mentors will be attending the second exhibition. So we will invite you to invite the second, the students will be doing 2. The first one will be for this middle school students. The second will be for high school students. We'll ask you to attend the second one. The first one's going to be more of a rehearsal sort of practice for them. So, but you will have that invitation at the next board meeting. I'll have this ready for you. But you have my report, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Anybody have any questions for Karen? Okay, Great, thank you. Technology, Deb and Justin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Probably before- if you have any questions,
Any have any questions for Deb?
I liked the, is that your report? I might have messed my report up about the page per day. The state, that's the principal's report, isn't it? Okay, sorry.
Hold
See, I
that
read it.
I know,
I
yeah.
can point to the right one.
Thank you.
I
I haven't.
I can point to that, right?
Technology is- Mine are all out of order apparently.
Yeah, mine are a
Sorry.
little out of order. All right, so no questions for Deb, thank you. Next up, principal. Like I said, I got myself out of order this afternoon too.
Yeah.
So do we start with Ann? There you go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You have my report, and I just want to share a little bit about how kind 99.99% of our students really are. And our Positive Behavior Support Committee would like to do a field day as a kind of celebration at the end of the year. We're thinking June 1st, maybe a rain date of June 2nd. And we're going to do something like we did with the HIP Olympics. So we're planning some events. We're going to meet after vacation and kind of work out the logistics and have some fun.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So I think a lot of fun has been missing over the last 2 years.
Mhm. Cool.
So
That's great. All right, does anybody have any questions?
So I would like to say how great it was to have Connor go as a page for the.
I don't know. I
day.
don't know exactly when it will happen, but
Yeah.
Mr. Abbott does this every year. Last year they couldn't, of course,
Yeah.
but every year a student goes and they realize how boring some of the, the legislative process really is.
Does he have an interest in that area?
He was recommended by Deborah Noyes because he is strongly interested. He's incredibly invested, very much engaged in the history classes she's taught. So I think,
That's
he
cool.
could go anywhere.
Yeah, nice.
And then I was just reading about the sunflowers. So yeah, hopefully if you put that out whenever that happens.
We
can
will,
buy
and
some.
that's another example of how one student came up with this idea and it's kind of taken off. Every classroom I go in now, they've got the milk cartons, they're all thinking of different ways to decorate them. They're all gonna sell, I'm assuming they're all selling sunflowers.
Cool.
But Abby Group has been putting out different vegetable seeds this year for the high school students because they want to encourage kids to grow your own food. It's one of their healthy kinds of things to do. So maybe they're gonna grow more than sunflowers. I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but it's kind of exciting.
And also we started seedlings.
Cool. Great, thank you. All right, Joe?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on my report.
Does anybody have any questions for Joe?
The wall tile project on May 19th, is that during the day?
No, it'll be in conjunction with, we used to do DARE and the one,
Yeah.
when we had an opportunity to do that. We don't have a certified DARE officer anymore, so what the students have done is they've done an artist statement about their wall tile project, and they're going, excuse me, we'll pick a couple of kids probably from each class that are exemplars to lead their artist statement, similar to what we did for DARE, and then we'll head down the hallway and have the unveiling of the newest one.
Awesome.
And then maybe some ice cream back in the cafeteria or something like that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Superintendent's report, Wayne?
I'm sure you have my report. Much of it is the ESSER conversation that we had earlier, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Wayne? Yeah, you're right. Much of it is ESSER. Great. Thank you, Wayne. All right, committee reports, personnel committee,
Nothing.
okay, health and wellness, probably nothing. Finance and budget, nothing. Staff development, you had something, right?
We're working on the plan that's due in June. So that's hopefully be good on our May meeting, probably, right?
Hope so.
Yeah. We are working on a survey to send out to staff about what they'd like to see and what worked in the past and that kind of thing. So hopefully we'll have that out fairly soon.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where I think we're at.
Cool. Yep. Legislation, NHSBA, the NHSBA piece I have to report is we're working on, I think they're back now, but the beginning of this week, Barrett, who's the executive director, was supposed to go, but he had a family emergency. So Barrett was going to go, but Ega Cordell, who is the chair of the Chesterfield School Board, she's on the NHSBA board, went down to North Carolina for the like inaugural conference and meeting and working out of the bylaws of the group, the regional group that is comprised of school boards who left the National School Board Association. So it's COSBA, I think it's called, the consortium of, oh, I know, I should have written this down, consortium of state school board association. And New Hampshire School Board, you know, so we're going to be like a founding member on all that. And so that's in the works. I think there's 22 states that formerly left the NSBA. We're technically still kind of part of the NSBA. We still get our magazine, we still get some stuff, but we, you know, everyone's working to actually legally just start their own, start our own regional group. And then legislation, I know April has had some, you know, was reading some of the emails. One thing I want to point out, we met with in our last NHSBA board meeting. It was the day after the principal interview, so last month. And we met with like representatives from like Shaheen, I'm totally spacing it. Hassan, who's the other one? Oh, other two. Anyway, then the other two are reps in Congress with representatives from their offices, and talked about a bunch of different things, mostly just funding, different funding things. There was an email that came out, and April, you know, made sure I was aware of it, and I had forwarded it to Wayne, and Wayne had already forwarded it to a few people, I think Jody and Karen, maybe to see if there was any funding. I forget what euphemism they're using for it, but it's earmarks, which is not a bad thing, but sometimes they, you know, it's looked at that way, but they will really help education. So I don't know if we can get in on any of that. We're looking, you know, pass it along. We're always looking for stuff. So we're just gonna keep our eyes open for all that. So April, I know you had a few.
The legislation that I know is on the floor, I can't remember if it's the House or the Senate, but to put back the 7.5% for retirement that the state would contribute towards that, which we're all hoping goes through. There's a lot of other legislation working its way through too, some of it good, some of it not so good. So
Yeah.
but that was the main one that's coming up, I think, is the 7.5% for retirements.
Yep, that'll be a big help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
I really
yeah.
hope that
Knock
one
on
happens.
wood.
That would mean a lot for property tax. It would be.
Yeah.
It really
would be
yeah, that
huge,
would be
you know.
huge, yep. All right.
Is there any more information on the reduction in SWEP tax?
Not that I've seen off the top of my head, but I can look and see.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a done deal, but it was like for 1 year.
Yeah, I think it's for 1 year.
Yeah, so I didn't know if there was any update on that at all.
I just
We'll
know
see.
that in the governor has claimed credit for that reduction.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
assume he's
Yep.
Yeah.
gonna get it. But the Jody did a little bit of work on the 7.5%, and if right now we're paying 21%, if that happens based on our prediction, which we're not going to the bank with,
We are not going to the bank.
which would be about 400,000 additional revenue. Then there's the additional 120 in the Senate bill that passed 17-1 on additional adequacy. So right now, I don't want
Right.
Yeah.
to jinx anything, but it's one of those
Yeah,
rare years where we may end up with more from the state than significantly more than we thought we would. But we'll see.
Cool, that would be great. All right, thank you. Has, I saw you taking a lot of notes.
Oh, yeah.
so-
So we just had a meeting right before this one. The fourth graders made maple syrup that I can put on one pancake apparently. It says good on pancake. There's no.
Good on
S.
pancake.
Yeah, so I can't wait to use it.
Hand cart.
So that was fun. Is it the state that's requiring has to have a website? So there, Sean, Marion might be reaching out to you with a little bit of help on that.
Yep. No problem.
And we're also working on the policy manuals for HASPs and employee manuals and the parent handbook. So that's all coming down the line. I think with policy manual, we finished tonight,
And
right?
We approved.
We
it,
approved it.
So if we could go in the minutes.
Yeah, there was a
Oh, is the
handbook.
parent handbook? I'm
The parent
sorry.
handbook was approved.
Parent handbook was
The board
approved, right?
wants to discuss this. We had 2 board members there and
Yeah. It's pretty straightforward, I think.
Yeah,
And there was also talk with maybe employing an ELO for the website to help make the website also too. So they'll be looking into that. The morning middle school program for HASP, I think is going to start back up for next year. Is that what this? I have it starting back up for a 7 o'clock start, because the kids will be able to get with the new timeframes. We'll be able to get in the building at 7 o'clock for next year. And also introducing some parent programming to the HASP thing. There's also, what else, right? Oh, and they're back up to pre-COVID numbers.
Oh,
in the
good.
HASP program, so.
That's great.
That's good. But she could still use more staff if anybody is looking for a job. Marianne could use you. I think that's it.
okay, great, thank you. Selectmen,
Want me to jump into
Sean,
that? 'Cause
yeah,
I was- I've
yeah,
been-
'cause you've been going.
I've been able to get back into the meetings.
thank you.
There's not a whole lot going on right now that kind of affects the school board, school stuff. Summer programs, stuff like that, we're hiring too. So not that it's a competition,
Right,
but
yeah.
summer program,
Everybody's hiring.
summer program needs help. Summer camp and pool, all of that, definitely looking for help. And there's been, obviously more talk about the joint HR position, and it's kind of roughly about it. That doesn't affect like, because others, everything else like planning board, which these guys don't care about.
I might, but
No.
not because I'm on the
No.
school board.
No.
So yeah, that's the summary.
And about the summer program looking for workers, there was an article in the Reformer, we weren't quoted, but several other towns where everybody's. summer
Everybody is.
program.
Everybody is.
So it's like it's a employee
it's-
buyer market out there.
It's
so.
right now, it's a highly competitive little field for summer camp now,
Yeah.
and with as using Wayne's terms, a very shallow pool of employees.
Do we provide training to lifeguards as per our pool? Like, is there a training program
there-
for lifeguards?
There's
that we
there's
do?
like the, is it Blue Cross? No.
No.
Yes.
Red Cross. Red
Cross.
Cross.
I'm thinking
That's insurance.
I'm thinking insurance. I'm thinking,
They are gonna
now, what's
help
the
us all.
guaranteed maximum on that?
There is training available, there is certifications available.
Oh, good.
All of that. I know because
You
my
think it-
granddaughter went through that.
I was gonna say you
I thought so, but I
angling
wanted to make
your
sure.
kid for your kid, no.
I don't know about my kid. He's
One of the
13.
crosses.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, cool, thank you. Facilities, Jim and Julia were at facilities, but do you have anything anybody else who might have been there at the last one, or maybe there wasn't
We
one?
talked a lot about in the ESER and some of the plans that we have for facilities and some of the things that we were talking about, like an outdoor learning, we'll bring back in the conversation one. But we hope the infrastructure money comes. And we also identified, and Debbie has pointed out, we still have some areas that don't have speaker access. So we have some safety issues that will be coming to you, but those are the conversations we had at facilities. I think the next facilities meeting is May 13th on Friday, and we kept the Fridays thinking maybe Sean would be, is he usually available on that day?
Is May 13th a Friday?
I think so, yes. Yeah.
Is it? And that's the behavior support meeting, the next one.
Yes.
Yes.
Be at
what-
2:15.
2:15, yep, no problem. I'll put it in my calendar right now, actually. Actually, I'll just switch over the behavior support one.
Send that to me.
That one's,
As
that one's
Jody
May
reminded
13th.
me, we're also moving forward with the bleachers. So that covers, we're getting ready for that.
Cool.
Joe, what time is the behavior support one?
9:30.
In the morning?
We do teams.
Oh, look, I put in behavior support and I need to write in facilities.
Yeah, you could always Teams in too. I don't know if you need, if that's easy to do, Gina. This is just as easy as Zoom. I don't know if you used it, but
9:30?
Yes.
All right, I've got facilities in there for 2:15.
cool. Great, thank you. All right, community connections. April's been continuing with her employee spotlights.
Yeah, we did Katie Leonard just recently.
Is it too late? Because I had heard somebody had asked me if they could submit the thing. That they
No,
haven't
I
submitted
I
yet.
will
Okay.
take, if someone wants to complete the questionnaire and send it in, I would love that.
Not too late.
No, it's never too late. And I also was looking at our descriptions of the committees and stuff like that, and I feel like I should be posting more about the events and stuff that are happening around school and stuff like that. So if it's okay with the board, I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I wasn't, I guess, obviously, I wasn't sure exactly what our purview was for posting, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we set up the Facebook page, it was just mainly like, one directional, no comments. And I think if anything, it's stuff that is, the spotlights are good. Anything that goes out on like Twitter and Instagram would be appropriate if we wanted to,
Share that.
piggyback and share on that, screenshot or, whatever,
Yeah.
and then do that. Yeah. Those kind of things. Yeah. And just like, oh, hey, like you said, like
This
events
is what's
like,
happening.
yeah,
Right, yeah,
yeah.
That's what I'm saying, like, what's going on.
Yeah, just anything we talked about tonight, that's like an event too, just be like, okay, and
Like the varsity boys have the dumpster going.
Oh,
for a
yeah.
Fundraiser, and there's hanging plants for a fundraiser going on soon, I think.
and somebody
right?
has a shred thing too going on,
flowers.
right?
Yeah.
The BTA has a shred thing.
Yeah. the
I
shred
know, I'm
thing.
looking
I am
forward to
already
that.
getting
I
my
am
stuff
like,
together.
me too. I'm like so looking forward to that one.
The dumpsters
there
now,
Yes,
April,
now.
I think April 6th, I think, or 8th, they were supposed to
I
start.
think it's there. It's there now.
Yeah, metal, anything mostly
yeah.
metal. There's certain things that can't come in.
Oh,
There's
wow.
certain things that can't go in, but if you can wait.
Man, look how excited
I
they
know.
got.
The metal dumpster is
You're like
there.
cleaning out your office,
Yeah,
right?
the varsity boys are looking to do it, summer tournaments, and that's their
I think
fundraising.
Carl
for.
posted about it. So
Yeah.
check out
He did.
Carl's
We-
page.
Yeah, I reposted it. so-
Okay.
It's
on my-
on the village boys then.
Yeah, I plastered it everywhere, so.
Yeah, and the shred things that
The shred is May
PTA.
9th. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
PTA
Yeah, and
They having a shredded
event
event.
like
It's
$5 a
box.
box.
yeah. How
Well,
big is
what
the box?
size
shredded.
box? What size box? are we talking?
Exactly.
School has shredding.
We do that.
We do that separately, so you can, just bring it to the records room.
But this is like, if you have some.
Yeah, I have
From
a
home,
ton.
yeah,
Bring a
that's
box.
something from
How
home.
big of a box?
That's what
I don't think it matters.
It doesn't say
No.
on the post.
I would say a paper box.
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
I have
Like a
two.
banker's box.
A banker,
I have
yeah,
two.
yeah, you can even
This
have the
big.
bigger banker box.
It's about this big.
No, I don't, well, you can
I'll
give,
pay $10.
I was just saying you can give a double donation for
There we
that, yeah.
Sounds good.
Because BSNL would do it for free, but you could only, I think, do 2 boxes but they didn't have, like, they didn't police the size, but yeah, cool. Look, we're like also excited about
So
I know.
excited.
metal and
Yes,
paper.
so
shredding.
I will start posting stuff like that on Community Connections
Awesome,
to get it out
Awesome.
there.
yeah, thank you.
long's the metal dumpster? I'm sorry for severing.
There is no end date at this
Okay.
point, right now,
Just, and they
but at least a
usually,
couple of weeks.
they usually swap it out too when it gets full, don't
Yeah.
they? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think,
Parts and pieces that are just hanging
Yeah.
that we don't have room to keep storing,
and we've been Oh.
waiting for the metal
Yeah.
dumpster.
yeah.
it's there.
On a nice, the days are gonna be nice, take a field trip over and just, load it
I
up.
think it started Monday, I think.
So informative here.
See,
Yeah.
school board meetings could be fun.
There you go. All right, tuition committee, nothing there. Behavioral support.
So we met last month. I don't know if there's anything, I actually just turn it over to Joe and Ann because they have more updates than then I would do my notes. I mean, there's still, because Sarah's doing a lot of elementary school, Tim's doing a lot over at middle high school.
We are meeting with Eric Mann virtually tomorrow, because what we'd like to do is reflect on what worked well this year, so that there's some kind of a segue when the new year starts. Teachers have been able to get a voice and kids a voice about what's been working well and continue those things. So we want Eric to facilitate something.
Yeah, we've been working with Eric to kind of plan out the last quarter of the year, in that we did a survey earlier in the year, and yesterday we did our check-in. And then in May, we'll reevaluate how things have gone, and then have a chance to review the, hopefully see that there's some improvement over the last quarter of the year. And remember, we talked about the roadmap as being something that was an area of improvement. So we've been working towards providing tools for the teachers to become more faithful in the delivery of the SEL instruction.
Then you get to take over.
We'll take one.
Yeah.
There you go. Great, thank you. Joint loss, I wasn't able to make the last one. Chris?
Yep, I was there. We just talked a little bit about the number of employee injuries that we had. There weren't any, to my knowledge, at the high school. There were a couple over at the elementary school, and just mitigation factors, things that we could try to put in place, whether it be building related or trying to search for the term. Classroom management, thank you. Related, so we just briefly touched on those and things that we were looking for and suggestions. And that was pretty much the sum of it. It was a relatively brief meeting.
Okay, cool. And you have a date of the next one, or who took that over? Was that you or Gina? I don't
Not
know.
me. Oh,
You?
I don't know, was it me?
Was it you?
If it's
April?
me, sure, when is it?
But
Thank you.
Yeah, get her on,
Thank
yes,
you.
on the list. It's like usually like.
I think that's right.
May 4th.
Or maybe May 2nd. It wasn't because it's a Monday, right?
Yeah, it's usually.
May 4th is a Wednesday.
I know, that's why it's not that date. I'll
Okay.
get it. I'll get it. to you.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
probably Monday.
I don't have it in my calendar. I think it's on my desktop.
All right, cool, thank you. All right, citizen comments. Phil, do you have anything? And if you want to do the Zoom.
Donna, do you have anything?
All set, thank you.
Teresa, do you have anything?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Karen, do you have anything?
Can you hear me?
Barely.
Karen, we can't hear you. I'm gonna go on to Rock. Karen's good.
Okay.
Rock, do you have anything? Jackie, do you have anything?
I do not, thank you.
You're welcome. That's it.
All right, great, thank you. All right, so we just need a motion to go in non-public.
I will make the motion.
Second. All right, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, thank you, everybody.